welcome. You're tuned into Tea Time and I am Chaiti Narula. We're at DLF Golf and Country Club in Gurgaon. Now someone very wise has pointed out, a developed country is not where the poor have cars, but it's where the rich use the public transport system. Discussing this in much more detail and of course the rapid urbanization issues and of course rail-based MRTs as well in this country is Sanjiv Rai of IL&FS on the show with me.
On the show this week, we have Sanjiv Rai, MD and CEO, Rapid Metro.
Most countries where mass transit problems have been solved has been with public transport.
In news, Thomas Bond made a 12-foot birdie putt on the first playoff hole to win European Masters. And first Masters winner, Horton Smith's green jacket to be auctioned off.
Lovely tee off, Sanjiv. Amazing to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
How long have you been playing here for?
I've been playing here for about 5 years.
And how's the journey been so far?
Well, golf is a challenge, you know that, under any circumstances.
So what's really been your tryst with the green?
Well, the handicaps remains where it is after 5 years.
And you don't get too much time, work off your busy schedule.
Well, we generally play on holidays, weekends. Yeah, so that's just about when we play golf.
Okay, interesting. Now, we're going to be discussing rapid urbanization on the show. We're going to be discussing railways, MRTs, what you are doing currently with IL&FS as well. Now, I opened the show by telling our viewers about how somebody rich has once pointed out that a developed country is not where the poor really have cars, but it's where the rich use the public transport systems. How far are we from that Mumbai to Manhattan story? Or Delhi to Manhattan story for that matter in this country?
To tell you the truth, we are very far in terms of the percentage of usage of public transport in a country like India. The rich still don't travel by metro in India, and I don't see in the foreseeable future that trend is about to change.
Right.
The only time this trend is going to change is when people can't find parking, people find petrol is too expensive, and they spend hours in traffic jams. And that is the only time people will have a mindset change or a step change to start using the metro.
What prompted you to get into the Rapid Metro project as well?
Well, look, I spent all my career living in Europe and in the US, and have been involved with the infrastructure business, finance and delivery business for the last 30 some odd years. And then about 6 years back, I met some people from IL&FS. and the idea came about that we should build a private railway company in India, the first in India in fact. And that is how I moved back from the US in 2008, and we founded the company together, the IL&FS Rail Company, and we worked on it, and then Haryana government had some plans to build a private metro. So I think things came together gradually, and then by 2009 we had already signed an agreement with the government of Haryana. And now 3 years later we have a rapid metro which is almost operational, and I expect that by October it is going to be fully operational for passenger usage.
So now rapid urbanization is something that is increasing the stress and on urban metropolitan cities in India. Your plans on being able to help people tackle this traffic congestion?
Look, we are only one part of a very large puzzle, that is infrastructure. It is almost every country's experience, developing or developed countries' experience. When I say developed countries, you can take examples of Europe or the US, developing countries such as Brazil and China. And no matter how many roads or highways you construct, it is never going to provide sufficient space for people to drive cars or trucks or buses for that matter. So at the end of the day, in most countries where mass transit problems have been solved, has been with public transport. So when you take the Indian context, you can look at large cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad. There are about 4 or 5 cities that already can boast of a metro, and there are at least another I would say 10 cities, at least 10 cities where studies are ongoing to either plan a metro or actually build one. That's great.
So now the Planning Commission really has recommended that every city in the country exceeding 4 million population opts for rail-based MRT system. Now based on this recommendation, about 35 odd cities in this country qualify to have a rail-based MRT. What is your take on our country developing all these 35 cities into having a metro system?
Look, obviously, I mean, anybody who reads something like this will say that the plan is very ambitious. I mean, simultaneously building metros in 35 cities or even over the next 5 or 7 years is a challenge by any standard. It will be a challenge for any country.
Right.
But the fact remains that the process has started. 5 or 6 cities already have metros, will have metros operational in this year itself. There are at least another 10 cities where there are studies going on, and then it will all boil down to the kind of funding that is available with the government, because very capital intensive business, the metro. Just to give you a context, it takes approximately 300 crore rupees per kilometer to build an elevated system. Metro is a new business in India. You don't have too many people that understand the metro technology.
True.
So you need a lot of people that are trained. You will have to bring in people from overseas to help you. But the fact remains that we have to start somewhere, and the Planning Commission has done very well in at least initiating the process in about 10 cities, 10 or 11 cities. And let's see where this all goes. I mean, so far 6 cities have been very fortunate.
So good. So now NASSCOM has predicted that nearly 2 lakh people in Delhi's NCR, which is Gurgaon, they are the ones who need to switch to rail-based MRTs as well.
Correct.
What is your take on these clusters of work areas that we have in the NCR region making a conscientious effort to shift to MRTs?
Look, when we started the studies for these projects, we selected the most crowded area from an office perspective, commercial perspective, to build the metro, because that's where the people are, and that's where we are going to get our ridership. Right. And we also ensured that we had a connectivity to Delhi Metro's line 3, a line that comes into Gurgaon. So just to keep it in context, around 1.5 lakh people travel to Gurgaon on that metro line every day. And we are expecting that at least 80-85% of those. Are
you also encouraging the companies to make a conscientious decision to have their employees travel by the metro system?
Absolutely. And we started the process almost a year back. We're trying to show them the benefits of switching employees from private cars to use public transport.
Yes.
Now, look at the number there are about 200,000 cars that enter Gurgaon every day from either MG Road or the toll. And if we can get about, we can reduce that by 25-30%, you can see the impact of what that will do to the roads of Gurgaon. And it is our conscious effort that, the companies will look at it from a very practical perspective. It's not all about money saving, etc. It's about being practical. After all, they also suffer with traffic jams as much as anybody else does.
Absolutely.
They all also come in cars. So we are hoping that a lot of companies will see this our way. Anybody can see that it's a cleaner mode of transport.
But it's a hazard of urbanization as well, that the roads are going to get congested.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the best means of transport away.
And you are in a safe, clean environment in a metro.
Right.
And you get off near a station which is close to your office, and then you walk up to there, and you are in a very safe environment essentially.
Lovely. So let's continue our discussion on the other side of this break. So good time now for us to take a breather on Tea Time. Sanjiv Rai and I, Chaiti Narula, we will see you on the other side.
All projects cannot be financially viable without any grants from the government.
Thank you for staying with us on Tea Time. We're in conversation with Sanjiv Rai, of IL&FS. Now the DMRC's unhappiness has been cited as the reason for the cancellation in the line extension as well. DMRC has also gone on record to say that the PPP model is not too much of a viable model.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, of course, it's a personal opinion, and I also agree that all projects are not financially viable as
Yeah.
PPPs. So the two modes of construction that is happening today in the country of development of projects is either EPC,
Yeah.
which is the Delhi Metro model, where the government finances the project, and the second model was the Delhi Airport Express, which was partly financed by the government, partly financed by a private company. And then the third model obviously is our model, where we have provided complete financing. Now, the person who has said that there is merit in that, all projects cannot be financially viable without any grants from the government. So we have to select projects very carefully and ensure beforehand, before we finance them, that the projects are financially viable.
Time now for me to continue my game,
Yeah,
and we
sure.
discuss more.
There you go. Good shot.
Thank you. Your turn. Yeah. Lovely shot. Sanjiv, would you say that the government is on track on the planned investment of 63,000 odd crores by the year 2014, in fact this year as well, and this includes 600 crore rupees from the PPP model as well?
Well, I'll tell you that in the next 3 to 5 years, we are expecting at least 6 or 7 projects to happen all over the country. And we are looking at an investment of almost 40,000 crores if we are going to implement these projects. So it's a challenge. 600 crore rupees is not going to take you too far for a PPP model, because generally what's happening in the PPP business, where the government and the private party team up together, about 20% is being contributed by the central government, 20% by the state government in terms of a grant, and 60% is being financed by the private party. So if you take my figures, you'll see that we are looking at a huge shortfall in supporting the PPP model in the country if we are going to build so many projects. But again, time will tell, and what I'm telling you is known to most people and most experts in the government, and they know a lot better than more than me because they are handling a wide variety of industries, including the metro. So I don't expect that 600 crores is going to really get us very far. So we should think in much larger terms in terms of financing that is required for PPP, the model.
Now when you're building this rapid metro, and the entire business model of yours is such that you generate a lot of employment as well, it's something that I read about you where you mentioned that this remains to be your focus area as well. Where exactly are you recruiting from, and how are you generating employment as well for the people?
See, again, ours is an absolutely technical business. So we need to recruit, constantly we are recruiting engineers, either at the junior levels or at the senior levels.
Do we have that class in this country?
Most of our senior people, they either come from the railways or Delhi Metro or one of the other metros in the country. The challenge is to recruit new people. Not many universities are offering metro courses. Over the last 3 years, we recruited almost 140 people directly from colleges. You can take Delhi College of Engineering, Kurukshetra University in Haryana. We've taken people from the Pusa Institute. So we've taken engineers from various levels, then put them through some kind of formal, informal training, site training, and we are very happy with the training programs that our managers have devised for these engineers. And we are finding that whatever gaps there existed, we are able to fill the gaps with the trained people that we are developing as future managers of the company. Though our system is only just 5+ kilometers, we are going to have almost 250 people in the team that is going to operate this system on a 24-hour basis.
Right.
So it's a 24/7, 365 days a year kind of operation, and that's our contribution to the employment of the NCR region is by employing these people. Now when we construct, at any given time at a peak, we are employing around 1,500 people, directly or indirectly. So we are generating employment, and then a lot of commercial employment is going to be generated through shops and through other commercial outlets. So I mean, I can't put a figure on those commercial jobs, but there is going to be a lot of employment generated around the system.
Now let's shift focus a little to earning carbon credits for your company as well. You are looking at a reduction in carbon footprint very proactively. What are your plans around that, and how do you plan to manage this?
See, it's a universal process. We registered ourselves with the United Nations FCCC and the Ministry of Environment in India, and there is a United Nations mechanism which is called the CDM mechanism, and that allows you to calculate a credit. Now these credits are traded in the market, so whenever some industry needs credits, they pay for the credits. In our estimate, we are going to reduce over 100,000 tons of carbon per year by operating the system, some directly by operating the metro, and some of it is going to be indirectly by getting cars off the road. So as I talked earlier, there are almost 200,000 cars coming to and fro to Gurgaon every day. We expect that at least 30% of that traffic is going to get impacted by connecting the Delhi metro to the rapid metro, and which means around 60,000-70,000 cars will have some kind of impact. I'm not counting the bikes and the scooters and the impact on the autos, which are also polluting the atmosphere and the environment. So there is a huge indirect impact of running the rapid metro, of people going to a rapid metro and not bringing the car to work.
Great. So on that note, it's good time now for us to take a break on tea time. Sanjiv and I will see you on the other side to discuss IL&FS in more detail, and of course Sanjiv's personal journey into golf and other things in life as well.
We are providing such a high level of security on the platforms that we are expecting that women will be safe when they travel the system.
Welcome back. We're in conversation with Sanjiv Rai of IL&FS, and we're discussing the rapid metro system, we're discussing urbanization. Now, how do you really foolproof safety in metros?
What we have done is we have a 3-layer security that we are providing for rapid metro. So we are perhaps going maybe a step ahead of maybe others. We have an agreement with the Gurgaon police that they will provide security outside the stations.
Right.
Once you enter the stations, then we have our normal security that has handheld devices, X-ray machines,
What about CCTV?
metal detectors. Every station has CCTVs back to the control room. So there's a controller constantly watching.
Absolute safety for women also something that you are ensuring.
Yeah, and then on the platforms there is the 3rd level of security. So their function is crowd management and looking at the safety of people. Now because our trains are smaller, only 3 coaches in a train, we practically cannot put a women's coach. I was asked this earlier also, but we are providing such a high level of security on the platforms that we are expecting that women will be safe when they travel the system.
Now you're a golfer and you're into the infrastructure space. You will agree with me that it is the government which needs to allocate land to build public courses, without which it cannot happen.
Yes.
What is your take on India getting more public courses and breaking the tag of elitism attached to the sport of golf?
I'll give you the example of the US, where every small town has 1 or 2 public courses. There are thousands of courses. There are thousands of courses around the US.
There's an onslaught of courses.
Only for a very nominal fee. Children, adults, anyone can walk into a course and tee off. Now, I agree that we don't have the same land mass as the US or some other large countries like Canada, but we still have a lot of land that we call preserved land, and certainly you don't have to cut all the trees to build a golf course.
Absolutely.
You can still keep it ecologically very sound and create a golf course, because it's a beautiful environment and it's a wonderful sport, a wonderful game. I won't call it a sport, but it's a wonderful game. And as you know,
Why wouldn't you call it a sport?
Well, yeah, you do get some level of exercise, but at the end of the day,
Okay, that's why.
You can put it in the definition of sport if you want to, but it's a very enjoyable game, and golfers love to play golf. So I don't see the reason why Delhi should only have one public golf course.
Which is Lado Sarai.
Yeah, and why not have another 10, 20 golf courses, because there is so much land around Delhi.
Have you been in dialogue with the government at all, even informally, about allocating more land to build golf courses
when
ever?
we ask for land, we ask land for the project.
For the projects, not really for golf
We
courses.
don't go in for golf courses.
Let's finish our game and we continue talking more. Speak about some sort of personal transformation that happened in your life after you took on to this game. Is there been, I mean, unless there has been none.
I took on this game almost 15 years back, but the game hasn't improved since then. Well, one thing that golf teaches you is patience, and you can't rush things in golf. So yeah, it gives you a lot of lessons, and golf is a very challenging game. To the outsider or to the non-golfer, it appears very simple. So it does teach you a lot of lessons. Another good thing about golf is that you enjoy very good company. You play with friends or you play with acquaintances and you spend a lot of time with them, and it gives you a lot of time to talk to each other, which generally you don't do in today's fast-paced environment.
And what's your long-term goal for the country? What's your vision?
I think the country needs to take some lessons from some other countries where infrastructure has been developed very successfully. And one country where I have experience is Malaysia.
Okay.
And Malaysia only in the last 50 years has developed the kind of infrastructure that you can compare with any developed country.
Right.
And they were exactly in the same state 45 years back. But I mean, they decided that they were going to build infrastructure, provide good roads, provide good seaports,
even
airports.
Singapore for that matter.
Well, Singapore, of course, is far advanced, much smaller country. It's a city-state. Malaysia, on the other hand, is a much larger country with a larger population. But I think there are lessons to be learned. Another lesson can be learned from Korea. And a lesson can be learned from Korea, and you can see in the LPGA, dominated by Koreans.
Absolutely.
There are young girls who study in America in colleges, and they dominate. I think the first 10 players in America are Koreans. So there's a lesson to be learned.
Well, on that wonderful note, thank you so much for your concluding thoughts.
Thank you.
It was indeed a pleasure to have you on the show. That's a wrap from Sanjiv Rai of IL&FS and me, Chaiti Narula, on TEETime today. Thank you so much for joining us. I will see you next week again with another interesting guest from another different sector altogether. Until then, you keep putting things into perspective, and of course, may the sport be with you.